everybody. Welcome back to the channel. I'm here with a really awesome blossom person I've taken trainings from and just been lurking about online. And I consider the play therapy, RPG, D&D enthusiast that is so authentic when sharing and teaching about the craft. And I'm so happy that you're here with me. Um, would you like to share a little bit about yourself?
Yes, I would. And I've taken trainings from you too. I was looking back through, I had to renew one of my licenses. I was looking back through CEs. I was like, oh my goodness, I have taken, I forgot I had taken something from you. It's like,
That's
that's so
funny.
exciting. So I'm Erika Walker, and I'm a clinical social worker I'm based in Kansas. That's where I live. And I'm also licensed in Missouri, Oklahoma, and Massachusetts.
Cool.
I've had clients move, and partially because I think partially because I'm a pleaser, um, I got licensed and also in those other states, but also because I had really great connections with them and we had done really like significant work that I didn't feel like we were done with yet. So um, I got licensed in all of those other states. And I'm also a registered play therapist supervisor, which I haven't done anything with the supervisor part yet because that kind of terrifies me to like be responsible for someone else's license. But I have it.
Okay. Thanks for putting it out there.
Yeah, it does. I mean, I am grateful for the woman who did my clinical supervision, and I did not understand at the time the magnitude of what all of that entails for someone to do that. And yeah, so bless all of the clinical supervisors out there.
It's a demanding, big responsibility.
Very much so, yes.
But I see that you've gone around that by just teaching people.
Yes. Yeah. I love the teaching aspect of things. And maybe someday I will take on the supervisor piece of it. I
Mm.
don't know. I don't know. I don't know that I'm there yet. That's not it's not quite a passion of mine. And I know that there are like people out there who are really, really passionate about supervision, and I'm just not one of those people yet.
I just think you're a teacher like me. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. We're not really, it's kind of like supervising, but it's not, it's less hands-on. It's like I trust that you can just take it and run with the information?
Yeah. Yeah. And if you have questions, you'll come back.
Mm?
And I'm not like necessarily liable for
The L word, yeah.
that's the biggest piece for me, I think.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now, I am all for consultation. Consultation, that is
Yeah.
not a problem.
Yeah.
The liability, that's the part that
I love it when people are going to watch. It's like, damn, lady.
no, it's just
Responsibility.
it's scary. I mean, you get on the so ours is the BSRB. That's the in Kansas what regulates
Uh,
my license. And so um you get on there and you see all of the things that people have been sanctioned for,
oh, yeah, yeah.
and having to know, you know, not only and actually I just took it. I had to do an ethics training. And I did it on telehealth and like the ethical things of telehealth just to refresh my memory because I still
Mhm.
do a lot of telehealth. And there's there's so much that I have to be responsible for of my own self. And then to add on that responsibility for another person
Mm-hmm.
and their caseload.
Mm.
It's just a lot.
And there's so much you cannot control of another human being.
Yes. Yes. So like I said, not there yet. And I don't know if I ever will be, but I have it there because it's important and it's something that I've been told multiple times by several people that I would be good at. Um, and yeah, so maybe someday.
I like that the door is there. It's a little open, and if you ever decide to walk through it, go ahead.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
You were such a storyteller, but like your storytelling is not as rambly as I would pair with other ADHDers. So it's really neat, you know. Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder. I was talking to my child a couple of days ago. I can't even remember what it's about. But I told them, it's like, okay, so I have a point,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna go a couple places before I get to this point.
Hmm.
It's all gonna make sense when I get there. And they said, okay, okay, mom,
Yeah. Yeah.
because they get it. They're also ADHD. They also have ADHD. So yeah, we sometimes speak the same language, but their brand of ADHD and mine don't always
Oh, really? That's
mesh. No.
funny. Different brands.
Well, and temperament too. That's one of the things I learned in one of my Adlerian classes was there are some temperament things between me and my child, and oof,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ooh. Actually makes me jump into the topic of D&D. When you made your
yeah.
character, because I just started, when you made your character, what kind of temperament did you give your character?
Which one? Which character?
Oh, your first one.
So I don't know if I consciously or unconsciously did this, but I created myself.
Hmm, that makes sense.
Um, to an extent. So my very first character that I created in 2016, um, and I know this because I created her we started playing our first campaign 2 weeks after Alan Rickman died.
Oh.
And it's significant because her name is Alana of Rickmana, and everything about her family and the town that she grew up in and um, other things down the line are somehow tied to Alan Rickman or characters that he played. And so that was very impactful. And when talking about like how we can incorporate like D&D into therapy and working on grief stuff, like that was a way for me to kind of memorialize him and keep
Mm.
him with me. Anyway, um, so her temperament's pretty much mine, except for I gave her, I'm trying to think of how to say this without being not necessarily vulgar, but
I mean, you can.
I gave her more balls than I
Hmm,
had.
that
I
makes
gave her
sense.
more balls than I had at the time. But I played her for 5.5 years, and so I got to Erika grow bigger balls,
Love it. Love it. Mm,
which is really cool.
it is. Oh gosh. Do you see other people doing the same thing? I mean, there's so many options. You could do complete opposite, different versions of yourself. Do you see people when they do make their first character, it's more aligned with who they actually are first?
I'm trying to think. Um, so like my husband, his first character, I want to say, yeah, was kind of him. Um, except for his first character was a little bit more charismatic than he perceives himself to be.
Ah,
I think my husband is when he is with his people, I think he's very charismatic. But like through his character, he was able to like practice and be that more. Um, I see either going more like yourself or something completely opposite.
wow, no in the middle, huh?
I mean, not that I've experienced.
Mhm.
Huh, that's very interesting.
Yeah, it is. So I probably made a character that's more like me too then. Yeah. Hmm.
So what character did you make?
So I made a hell half um night elf rogue named Wisteria. Oh, okay. So this is what like archetype stuff. So like that's why our stuff works together so well. I I feel like sometimes people don't see how anxious I actually am. So I made her an anxious wreck. She's fumbly, very nervous, skeptical and clumsy, and just like wanders a lot, but somehow she gets the job done and people are like, "How did you do that?" kind of thing. Um, so I wanted to just, I guess, honor a younger version of me that I still think I am sometimes. And so that's basically her. She's very young and she's small and she's like everyone else is bigger and everyone else is stronger. And so she's just like kind of a weakling, so she has a lot to prove. That's just how I see myself as well. So, yes.
It will be, I don't want to say interesting, but like to see how what you learn from her.
Hmm. Thanks. I know you're like lighting up inside, like, oh my God, she's going to learn.
It will be like it is it is like so playing Alana for 5.5 years, I I learned so much about myself. And I mean, I consider myself a fairly well-adjusted human for all intents and purposes. Like I've been through crap in my life. Like some some really not great things have happened to me. And also, I've done the work and I've adjusted and like I've survived. And also, like we've all got our crap. And there are still things that I struggle with. But like I learned so freaking much through her. It was, and one of the biggest things is like the biggest thing that I learned through her is that I am worthy. Like I had that light bulb epiphany during a client teletherapy session where I had to tell my client, I need a minute. And I just bawled for, a couple of minutes and I dried my tears and I said, okay, where were we?
Mm,
Because like that, it hit me in that moment. And, for me, I think would have, I'm confident I would have gotten to that point eventually, some way. It was really, really cool to get there through her.
Mm. What do you think it is about role-playing games that allows people to just allow themselves to really just be okay with self-love, learning new things, trying something different, and just seeing actually who they are? Because therapy can do it. So what's the difference, right?
So through like doing like reading through research articles and through playing my own stuff, my own games, and playing with clients. And so I practice from an Adlerian perspective, um, mostly. I would say 95% of how I practice is Adlerian. It's not that I don't believe other theories. It is just like the way that change makes sense
Mhm.
in my brain is Adlerian. And we have this, I don't know if it's like an intervention or a concept or what, but it's acting as if.
Mm.
And so, which pairs really beautifully with role playing games. So, like, I create this character, and especially if I create this character intentionally, and I'm working on a specific skill or set of skills, I'm practicing these with no outside consequences. Like, if I screw up, it doesn't matter. It really, really doesn't. And I can, you know, you can be a chronomancy wizard and redo it.
Mm.
Like, you can kind of like rewind time. They have an ability and it can, like, you can re-roll
Oh,
or
what?
yeah, like you can chronal shift. That's what it's called. So like if you fail a roll, you can chronal shift and re-roll. And while that doesn't always happen in the real world, sometimes you can re-roll.
Mm.
And what does that look like? And, when we can practice succeeding or practice what it looks like to fail when it doesn't matter.
Mm.
I don't, for me, that's the biggest part. Or when, um, oh my gosh, we were talking about, so our friends that we play D&D with were over Saturday and we were talking about tattoos. And if we were to each get one tattoo from that first game
Oh.
of what we felt our character's biggest moment was, what would it be?
Mm.
And I was like, oh my God. Because there were two that came to mind for Alana, and one was her and another character together. So they were on this a ship and it was getting like sucked into a whirlpool. And so they both went um, through magical means and used a spell. And I can't remember what spells off the top of my head. And they basically, at the same time, both parted water
Oh.
to disrupt the whirlpool. It was really, really, really freaking cool. Um, so like, when in the world am I ever going to get to stop a whirlpool from consuming a giant ship? But that's really cool. But the other time was uh, she caused 254 damage on on a single dude and like exploded his head from the inside out with magic.
Love it.
So that would be the other one. Parting the water would be much less gory
Mm.
as a tattoo. But like, being able to feel powerful especially in a real world
Mm.
where I don't always feel powerful.
Mm. So you just really much lean into the language of play for people, right? You embody it.
Yeah.
Mm. I hope that people can get to this point and listen to this because there's still that stigma on playing. There's still a stigma of like, why are we not growing up? You guys adults, damn, taking over playing D&D all the time. I see it everywhere now. And so
Yeah.
it's the intention. I think it's important to really think about why you're playing what you're playing. You can people play and escape, but sometimes we do it on purpose too, for different
Yeah.
reasons. Yeah.
Yeah. Stephen, one of the articles that I encourage even parents to read is by Stephen Dieterling, and it's called Alibis in Play.
Mm.
And it talks about how as we grow older, we we conditionalize our play.
Oh, tell me
So
more.
so we don't play for the sake of playing. We play because. So I'm taking part in this school play because it's for my kids' fundraiser. I'm doing I'm oh my gosh. So I hesitate to say this because of the who this was created by, and also we are huge Harry Potter fans.
Mm.
So love the world, don't so much care for the creator. And we'll leave it there. Um, but for our child's, I'm gonna say 10th birthday, 9th or 10th birthday, we had a Harry Potter birthday and complete with Quidditch. And my husband was the golden snitch.
That's funny.
So he put on a bright yellow shirt and the kids had to catch him. And so that would be I'm playing because it's my kid's birthday.
Mm,
Not I'm playing because play is important.
mm.
Like we need play. I have a task that I play every single day.
Wow, that's a big task.
Play can mean different things to different people. So, um, I I am very much a person who needs to see things visually.
Mhm, me too.
So, um, during our campaign, Alana had access to a spell called Mordenkainen's Magnificent Mansion. So she could create a mansion that had 100 like spectral servants and had like it could any food you wanted. And I talked with our dungeon master, the guy telling the story, and was like, because it has like as the spell's written, it has specific parameters around how big it is. And I was like, Nash, does this matter? And
Mm.
he said, not really. I was like, so can I go wild with like how big this mansion is and what it looks like? And he said, go crazy. So I spent like 6 hours one day on Pinterest looking for mansion plans and then saving those mansion plans and reconfiguring them in paint for whose rooms they were and redrawing lines and then finding pictures to decorate like
Mm.
what each room would look like. And my husband, he's like, you've done what all day long? And I kind of felt bad about it. I was like, oh, yeah, I kind of did waste the day. And so I was talking to my therapist about it. And she told me, she said, Erika, that was your play. You were playing.
Mhm.
And so then when I told my husband that, he's like, oh, yeah, she's right. I'm sorry. And so like different perspective on what play can look like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, I love that. So I work with a lot of autistic people and we talk about world building all the time and researching. For me, like this is my example of playing with you. I like knowledge and information because I get to kind of map it in my head and sort, 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 sort. And it's very playful for me to make my definitions of the world bigger. Um, which is very interesting because I always ask people to play with me by making a video and they're like, is this work? I'm like, no, it's actually very playful for me to learn. So it stimulates my brain in a certain way. So it's dopamine, right?
Yeah,
My version of play. So thank you for playing with me.
thank you. And see, um, so love languages, lots of controversy around love languages and the gentleman who created them. And however, kind of like, the creator of Harry Potter,
Mm,
there's good stuff that came from it. And there are neurodivergent love languages and so like my highest love language is words of affirmation, which like the neurodivergent equivalent is infodumping. So
mm.
like
Yeah,
this is totally
I'm gonna clip this. I love it.
like it's totally my thing right now,
Hmm.
which I think is one of the things that really fills, I guess, my bucket with teaching.
Hmm.
Like I love the things that I love, and I love that the things that I love can help people. Like I think that's the coolest thing ever, that the things that I love can help people grow,
Hmm.
and I get to marry like my job and the things that I love.
I
This
know.
is like really freaking cool.
It's the best. It's the best feeling. And you got to do it on your own too. It's freedom.
Very much so.
Hmm. Mm. There was something that I was thinking about while I was drawing my eyebrows on today. I was thinking about this thing that you said and it stuck with me because it sounded so funny, but it's very useful. Could you explain spitting in soup to the audience?
Yes. Um, I would love to. So spitting in soup again is a very Adler. So I need to like double check on this because I don't know if this is a Adlerian play therapy thing or an Adlerian thing. I think it's an overall Adlerian
Mm,
thing. Now that I'm saying that, I'm pretty sure it is. So spitting in soup is this idea that helping helping another person gain insight into things they may not want to have insight gained in a gentle way, sometimes maybe not even so gentle, and just seeing how it lands. I'm gonna give you an example, but I have to find it first
okay.
because my friend very, very beautifully spit in my soup, like perfectly. So I got asked to write an article for a magazine on using Dungeons and Dragons therapy. And when I sent it to him to look over, I told him, um, I told him in the email, I was like, it doesn't feel right. Like something it doesn't feel like me.
Mm,
And in the text message, I was like, I just sent you my article draft. Don't judge too harshly. And then this is what he sends back. This is the spitting in soup. I think the reason it doesn't sound like you is because you're trying to be too persuasive. You know for a fact that D&D works miracles with clients. You don't need these people to bestow that legitimacy upon you. I think it would sound more like you if it was more assertive than plaintive.
mm.
So that was him telling me to stop trying to please all of the people by convincing them and tell them.
Yes, two different things.
And when I looked back at it and I read it with with that lens on, I was like, oh yeah, it's totally convincing. Trying to convince people. 100%.
So here's a different thing though. When you introduce this concept of spitting in the soup, there needs to be a sense of trust, a little bit of resiliency to handle the spitting in the soup, right?
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. So um in Adlerian play therapy, we have 4 phases. So phase 1 is and there's no like timeline how you move through these phases or anything. So phase 1, you're building a relationship, an egalitarian relationship. So I'll tell clients as young as 2. I think as young as 2 is what I've got right now. To however old I'm doing play therapy with. Sometimes you're in charge and get to pick what we do, and sometimes I'm in charge and get to pick what we do. And we play and we learn about each other.
Mm.
And then in phase 2, I am information gathering. And so I'm learning about their crucial C's and their personality priorities and their temperament and about school and home and how they see themselves and others in the world and like all of these things. Like I'm learning about all of that. Then in phase 3 is the gaining of insight,
Mm.
which is where the spitting of soup happens, is in phase 3.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So then in phase 4 is like practicing skills.
Really, phase 4 is practicing skills after spitting, not skills first.
So phase 4 is called re-education and reorientation.
Culty, huh?
Well, yeah, Terry Kopman is the developer of Adlerian play therapy, and she's like, I don't really like that. But it's like, so sometimes the spitting and soup is, how's that working for you?
Yeah, yeah.
It can be as simple as that. And so then phase 4 can be, if this isn't working, might we try this instead? Here's some options.
Okay, got it, got
And
it.
then it's practicing those things.
I love it. It's a great change model. Makes sense to me. Why to put it that in order.
Yeah.
Mm. So
And
what
then go ahead.
I was thinking about like skills related to regulation then, maybe because it doesn't matter really what stage, but sometimes they're just dysregulated. Where would that go? Just anywhere? That's not a skill then, really.
Um, and those might be things that I'm modeling
Hmm.
all throughout.
Okay. So it's not externally, explicitly. It's like this is the skill we're doing. Your presence and you're modeling all this co-regulation stuff, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And one thing that Terry is that Terry really, really teaches is never let your big A agenda like overshadow your small a. Or like, so your big A agenda is like your long-term goals and your treatment plans.
Hmm.
And then your small A agenda is your what you have planned for a session.
Mm.
So kind of like with D&D. Your big A agenda is this is where we're going to go with this story.
Mm.
I kind of sort of have a little bit of a plan of how we're going to get there, but if you've played D&D, you know that that can change because you have no control over the other players.
Hmm.
Within a session, like with therapy or even with D&D, that's your little A agenda. You might have some ideas, but even then, you don't want to get so locked into it. And so, making sure to be intentional with what you're doing. So, like I'm always wanting to, with clients, especially if I know that regulation is a struggle for them, I am wanting to make sure that, especially with like my ADHD, that number one, that I am putting them in offering them time slots in my day where I know that I can be present.
Hmm.
Because toward the end of my workday, I know I struggle a lot more to be there without help. In the form of like, I have a soda in the afternoon because my meds have worn off.
Mm.
Or I know I need to have my coloring pages, or I know I need to have a fidget, which can sometimes for some clients be very distracting. So, you know, intentionality is very important.
Mhm. I love how you're mapping everything out. Like you're so systemic, like me. It gets me excited. I've been, I'm going to use the word triggered. I've been triggered by people lately who are not as organized and structured about the things that they do and mapping everything out. So it's just, thank you for doing that. I'm not bashing. I actually am. I'm bashing you guys who don't do the structure and the organizing, but that's my own personal thing of like seeking balance with people. I had a question. So with your intentionality with starting people out and kind of like luring them into the community of believing in the practice of playing and doing D&D, what are some things that you have advice for people to just like be comfortable with doing something that is maybe very uncomfortable for people?
Oh, Boonie, that's like the $1 million question. Um, and I say that because like the play piece isn't as big of a struggle as the D&D piece.
Mm.
In my experience, and I think what my friend was saying of how I was so plaintive in that the draft one of that article that I wrote is true, is because it feels like in the greater play therapy world, what myself and other play therapists who are using this and who are doing this are not seen as doing anything that's valid.
Oh my God, is this how I feel with video games? Yeah, you guys get
Yes,
poked at too for doing. I thought it would have been like, yes, let's do this. Jaw
no,
dropping, not real. No way. Really?
really.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Um, and so, it, yeah, I would say about on the same lines as video game.
You're controversial as a play therapist? That's so weird.
1000%. And I fly that flag and hold that megaphone up as often as I can because I believe in it.
Mhm.
And video games. Like I love talking about. I don't currently use any because it's a competent feeling thing.
Mm.
Um, However, I will talk video games about anybody. Have not incorporated playing yet. 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 Um, it will very likely happen. I don't maybe because like I mean, I have my thing.
Hmm?
I don't know. We'll see. But yes, very much so. It's difficult. And even more so, and I don't know if you've run into this with video games, like we have the whole, like in incorporating Dungeons and Dragons, the whole Satanic Panic
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
thing to your mind control. You can't mind control my child.
Yep.
Would you like to come in and watch us play a session? And I will show
Yes.
you how I can't. I had a client, and this client has given me permission to talk about this. Paladin has a god as his oath, attacked his god. Did I plan for that? No. Am I frantically scrambling to find stats for this god that my client's character just attacked? Yes, that's what I did. And then we had to take like a couple of weeks after that interaction to talk because I was like, I didn't say this. Like, what the hell are you doing right now? To me, like, what? Talk to me about your. I need to know what your character's thinking
Mm-hmm.
because,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm glad I did because I was making assumptions that were not correct.
I love that. Yes. You checked in. Yep.
I very much, yeah,
Yep.
because there, in D&D, as you play your character more, you will develop more and more and more about their backstory
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
who they are and where they've come from and their how they see themselves, others in the world, and all of these things. And you may be the only person who knows those.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what had happened with this particular client's character. And I I was making assumptions based on the information that I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And so we took a couple of weeks to like, I need to know more. Like I need you to help me understand why that happened. And I'm so glad I did because my first reaction was to punish.
Mm-hmm.
Like this God is going to take all your powers away. But it was so far on the other end of the spectrum as to why my client's character did what he did that it was a teaching moment for me. It was a
Love
learning moment
that.
for me,
That's so
which was awesome.
great. So this is something that shows how skilled you are as a facilitator and a therapist. A lot of people who wouldn't see that as anything like, okay, someone just decided to do something off the wall, and but you're tracking the entire time. You have a relationship, you have a deep history with this character and your client. And now there's like a gap in like, there's an inconsistency here. I need to figure out what's going on. And so this is like, again, the craft of being a therapist and a dungeon master. That's the thing I think sometimes people are like, any D&D person can do therapy. No, you have to have the skills, like you're just shaking your head. You can have this, you have to have this craft, the skill of both. You're having the lens and the hat on, therapist hat, dungeon master hat, therapeutically, you're looking at the client seeing what is happening here, right? So you're just mapping it out, pulling systemically. See, like your gift with systems, you're looking at the whole picture, and then something happens with the client. And the thing that's like, wait, they're having insight in some way, or I'm reacting, right? Your countertransference is showing, and you're like, I need to pause this. So that, again, the skill, you're so quick with this. It's like, wait a minute, I need to check myself by checking on the client. And I think that's something that sometimes you're offering people who have never had a chance to explain themselves, go back into like their history and tell you exactly, wait, there's a reason. Please let me explain myself. That is so therapeutic, so healing to allow someone to do that. And you got to do it through a character and play, which you said in the beginning, like lower stakes. I can see how powerful this can be. Yes, so much.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I seriously just got goosebumps. The- I I just finished a book um right before I came upstairs to like log on to Zoom, and it's all about that, like having your voice be heard
Mm,
and being able to tell your story for like the first time ever, for having somebody listen to you for the first time ever. Oh, yes.
ah, there is a reason. There's a reason you're here. There's a reason you're sharing your gift.
I love it. I love it. But yeah, I'm really singing excited to see your journey. Like,
Mm.
'cause I think it's just, I mean, especially, playing D&D in therapy, there's like this added intentionality to it
Mhm.
because there has to be. Um, but like playing it for fun, like change in insight, like it still is going to happen. It's going to.
Mhm. Yeah, totally. I guess since already been an hour, I don't want to take too much of your time. Some questions for my playing. Um, so I am a really good listener. What are some, I guess, words of encouragement or strategies you can give me for someone who just to practice speaking more? Because I remember I shared like when I was younger, I used to have situational mutism and ended up just, for a while, traumas happen, people silence you, and then I lost my power for a little bit. So I have this conflict sometimes where I don't feel confident to speak. And so I'm really good at just observing and listening. And I would like to give myself permission to speak more and be more playful in my character. Please help me.
So, yes. Oh my God. Boonie, like I've got goosebumps again. Oh my gosh. Okay. Um, so it goes back to that acting as if
Mm,
in my brain. Like this is where I'm going. Um, and I have no idea why, but this is like okay, so um have you played the Guardians of the Galaxy video game?
no.
Oh, okay. Well, I have no idea if this is I don't know why this is where my brain is going, but this is where my brain is going.
Okay.
Okay. So there's a character on there in that game her name is Lady Hellbender.
Okay.
And I thought that she was just created for the video game, and apparently she's in like four issues of the Incredible Hulk comic books, and then in one issue of one other comic book. So that's like going to be my when I go to Comic Con in March. That's what I'm going to try and find because she is awesome. But I don't know, like if I were playing a character who felt small, she is who I would want to embody.
Mm,
She is who I would want to act as if I was from time to time. Now, I don't know that or I would want to, or encourage, or even play like I was her all the time, because that could get really overwhelming.
mhm.
But if you like challenged yourself, I don't know, maybe even like rolling a D4 before you played, and like if you rolled a 3, okay, 3 times during gameplay, I'm going to embody Lady Hellbender.
Oh, I like that.
and I'm going to be heard. I'm going to be big. You'll have to look her up because she is badass. Like oh my God, she is so cool. And she's got these thighs that would terrify someone. And then she's got this huge, I don't even know what it is, weapon. But yes, that's like, yeah, her.
Mm.
But it's like taking a little piece and inserting it when it feels right.
Mm. Mm.
But being intentional about it, which is like, the three times today during this gameplay, I'm going to practice being big in whatever, or being heard, or using my power, or whatever that can look like for you. And it doesn't have to be Lady Hellbender, but like
Mm.
whatever whatever that looks like for you.
Oh,
That's what I would encourage.
I can see why people asked you to be a supervisor. You have a way to encourage. Just like you see the person, you just like whoop whoop whoop, here you go, here's the package. You have it. I don't know what's stopping you, but like now we have to wait and see you become the supervisor version of you. Hmm.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for spending time with me. It's different when it's not lectury. It's different when it's more casual, playful, and just like your face lights up and you start sharing more, and then you having like your hair stands up on your it's neat. It's really cool.
Mhm.
I think it humanizes the craft so much more because I'm not really much of an academia person where people are put on like pedestals and stuff. And so I love that you use the word egalitarian. I can tell that you embody that outside of practice too. It's just a part of you. And so I think that's why your your modality just automatically you sunk into it and it really works. Um, and that's what I think people could be looking for so this is just like a side tangent of when they're looking for a therapist or a play therapist, the egalitarian aspect of it is something people might not always assume. They think that therapist is the one knowledgeable and we need to like listen to what they're saying, their expertise, but you're the expert of you. You know yourself, but you're just trying to be seen and heard and trying to work through some stuff. And so that really spoke to me too. Thank you.
Yes. And that's like, that's one thing that I tell parents all the time. It's like, you are the expert on your child. And they look at me kind of weird.
It's like, what? Really?
Yeah, and especially people who come to me from other therapists. They're like,
Hmm.
"What is this?"
Yeah. Yeah. It's like you shock them in so many different ways. Like,
Yeah, yeah, or I had a parent bring her kid in who is has high, and I'll be interested to see how ADHD progresses in the DSM.
mhm.
A colleague had said to me that they believe that it will eventually become a spectrum, which I kind of agree. I agree with because it is such a spectrum. But like this kid had very high stemming,
Mm.
very very high stemming, and mom apologized to me multiple times throughout the intake for her kid stemming. And finally, I like looked at her in the eyes. I said, "You do not need to apologize for your kid being who he
Mhm.
is.
Mhm.
He
Yeah.
can stem. He's not hurting anyone at all.
Yeah.
This is who he is. He can be who he needs to be in this room." And her shoulders dropped and her eyes teared up. And I'm like, "I'm sorry that this hasn't been your experience other places."
Yeah, that really hurts to hear too. It's like we have a long way to go.
Yeah, kind of makes me want to throat punch people, but that
Yeah.
doesn't get us anywhere either.
Yeah. My character will Wisteria will come out. She's a rogue. She'll just stab people and disappear.
Yeah. Yes, very much so.
Mm, okay, so I'm gonna wrap up here.
Yes.
I love our time together. It's really awesome seeing you grow and just become more of you over the years. And I'm sure you have the same feelings about many colleagues as you're watching. We're just watching each other, so it's so weird in this virtual space, right?
It's awesome. And I love that we have it. Like that, you know, if one good thing came out of COVID, it's that we have more access to all of this, or it's
Yes.
more out there.
Yeah. But it also, when we hear those stories of just like when we have that kid or the family, it's just the first time they've heard this stuff, and then you see the relaxing and they start crying because it's so novel. Collectively, we know there's still a lot of room to work on. Yes. Mm,
Mhm.
yeah. Gotta fight the
Yeah.
good fight.
Yep. Put our boxing gloves on.
So, I don't know if you're full, but if you're taking any clients right now?
I am not full. It's kind of a weird thing right now that I have a little bit of room.
Okay, so where can people find you?
So my website is erikawalkertherapy.com. And easiest way to get a hold of me is email.
Okay.
Because if people try to call me, I don't know if it's an ADHD thing or what, but I hate talking to like returning phone calls. Maybe it's just as a therapist. Like, please email me.
I like having the list on the email too. It's like visually, no, I know what to
Yes.
do. Yeah,
So email is erikawalkertherapy@gmail.com.
great. And I want to update you later, and so we can geek out about D&D another time too.
Very much so. I mean, this is like I said, info dumping is my thing, and D&D is like if D&D was a love language, it would be my ultimate love
Oh, it
language. So
totally is. Thank you.